Should the Niners be interested? Or should anybody else be interested? Will people be interested in Carson Wentz backup quarterback?
I think there are teams with established star quarterbacks, the Bills, the Chiefs, that will be all over him at like a veteran, $1 million a year as the backup. I think the Niners should definitely kick the tires on him. Again, for $1 million, whatever his cheapest price is, because now he doesn't cost any money, I would have no problem giving him $1 million, because that immediately sets the tone of what his role is on the team, which is nothing. Part of the reason he's been the starter the last several years every time he leaves, because he's making $30 million.
Right.
It's pretty nuts that his career is just falling off a cliff and Jared Goff's going pretty strong. Just had like a career year.
I
I
know.
don't think anyone would have picked that one 3 or 4 years ago.
Especially because he was an MVP level player. Right? He might have won the year he got hurt and Nick Foles took over. He was having an MVP season.
Yeah. Him and Derek both kind of had the same thing, like back-to-back years where felt like they were going to win the MVP. They had devastating injuries. Kind of derailed their careers. Derek got it back. Carson not. But it just felt like these guys are going to be like MVP level player. This is a star.
Yeah.
And
he was every bit physically what people thought he was going to be.
Yeah. He can't run anymore.
The one, to me, with the Niners, the drawback would be, does he understand that if he gets $1 million contract, he's not being brought in to be your starting quarterback? Because the last thing I want Carson Wentz, who seems to be not beloved by locker rooms, is to walk in believing it's his locker room to go win. And why wouldn't he? I could see him thinking that. I got Trey Lance coming off an ankle surgery, who could not be their quarterback last year. I got Brock Purdy coming off an elbow surgery, presumably, eventually. Why wouldn't I walk in here and think, if you're him, you go, well, so I got to beat out Trey Lance, and then like when Brock Purdy comes back, maybe him too. Why can't I be the starting quarterback on this team? That's what he would think.
North Dakota State royalty. Let them get together.
Yeah, it's true. Bison on bison crime, John. Which on one hand, you want guys to think, like you want guys to compete, but you also want guys to know their role. And his role would not be to be the starting quarterback. The other thing is you've got an injury-prone guy in an injury-prone locker room. That would not be an ideal match.
A lot of injuries. Yeah, that's a lot of injuries.
Suboptimal.
Yeah, a lot of injuries.
But I guess him and Trey could kind of play the same way. But again, I don't want to run Carson Wentz anymore. He gets hurt all the time. He did play well against the Niners, which you never know when a guy kind of is good against you. Does that make your life difficult? Would you want to sign him on your team? That sort of thing. But I don't know. I think there's the real possibility that he brings a weird dynamic to the locker room.
I think those days are done once you start making $1 million. It's clear where you stand on the hierarchy.
But those days are only done if you accept that. Isn't he thinking, put yourself in his shoes. What are you thinking? I'd be thinking, I'm going to revitalize my career.
Well, you can say that, but I tell you, like, you are the backup quarterback. Like, whoever signs him is going to tell him that.
Is he?
Like, he has not been told that the last couple of years. You're the starter. You're the starter.
He got told that every year, just after the year began.
But I'm just saying he's going to hear for the first time going into an offseason, you're not the starting quarterback.
Yeah, we are not signing you to do that here.
You watch. I mean, I think good teams are going to be on this guy for cheap.
But I think good teams should be with established. I think the Josh Allens, where there is no question that you have, they should do it.
Mahomes, Burrow,
I think the Niners are. You can tell him you're not the starter, but he'd walk into it. It's just him and Brian Griese in the QB room, and Trey Lance.
I could see the Rams if they can get him for $1 million.
Yeah,
with Stafford.
I just think those teams have different situations than the Niners do.
I agree. They do. I'm just saying, if you told me the Niners, my stance would be the Niners have signed him for the veteran minimum, I will say that's a good signing. Because I'm not giving him any money. I can cut him whenever I want. That's the best part about these
That is the good part about it. Yeah.
It's like I'm not tied to him.
Right. The other question is, and maybe who the Niners sign will give us some indication, like, does Kyle Shanahan view Trey Lance as definitely good enough to be his backup quarterback? Does he try to sign somebody that is the backup quarterback and make Trey Lance his third-string quarterback? That's where they're kind of in a weird spot.
Well, assumes Purdy's ever coming back.
Yeah, well, exactly. Assuming Purdy comes back, like how do you structure your, like, what do you do? Like the Nate Sudfelds who are just I don't know. It's a weird, they're in a really weird spot right now. Do you draft a quarterback?
No.
Somebody in the chat was like Tanner McKee. I think, did I see Grant threw this out there the other day? I've thought Kyle would like Tanner McKee for a while. Just first of all, the Stanford guys, physical traits, undervalued, smart, undervalued because he didn't perform like people thought he would. Remember Daniel Jeremiah, David
Was it
Shaw
last year
came
they
on.
had the Wake Forest offense and it didn't go well?
Yeah, that was last year. But so 2 years ago, David Shaw came on the show and Daniel Jeremiah both said like he's a first round talent. But
Stanford's had a lot of those now.
I
The
know.
last couple quarterbacks is like
I know.
there's a difference between being a first, like you're no longer a first round player. Even though I saw Bucky Brooks had him like a fifth quarterback.
Well, the Niners don't draft till the end of the third round, so even that fifth quarterback might not be around by then.
I bet Tanner McKee goes in the second round. What do you think?
I do.